Is it just me, or does Godzilla keep getting the short end of the stick? Like, in almost all these movies I've seen, the Kong movies score higher than the Godzilla movies. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's weird, because the last Atomic King we looked at an abysmal piece of crap for Godzilla. But here we have yet another great one for Kong. Guess he's the real king of the monsters. Let's discuss. What's up? What's happening? It's going to play one bad animation was for anything and everything animation as well as TV and movies. And welcome back to Atomic Kings. Welcome to our review of the 2005 Peter Jackson remake of King Kong. Yes, that Peter Jackson, the one that brought you the beloved, legendary, huge fan favorite book series adaptation trilogy, Lord of the Rings. So, needless to say, my expectation was pretty high going into this one. And my friend James Robotnik, especially, shout out to him, he was especially excited to hear me talk about this movie. And I can see why, because this movie is excellent. Like, this is what every remake should do. It stays true to all the core elements of the original, but it has a little bit of its own spin on it without coming off as disrespectful. Like, it's really weird to try and articulate it, but all I can really say is that it was just awesome. This is an awesome movie, but it has a few problems. It's not better than the original King Kong. Do not get it twisted, but man, this remake was way better than I was expecting it to be. I wasn't expecting it to be trash like Godzilla 98, no, but I was expecting something kind of average in the middle, not for me. No, this one's definitely for me, and I fucking loved it. So, without further ado, here's my review. It's pretty short, brief, and to the point because there's not a whole lot to say, because most of the positives of the original are part of positives of this one, while also having its own positives. Is a whole thing. Allow me to explain. While Godzilla sadly got mutilated by its remake, Kong thankfully was put in the hands of people far more passionate and way more competent. And as a result, this is one of those rare times where the remake is able to stand tall alongside the original. Not over the original, alongside it. Want to make that very clear. Great acting, especially Jack Black. Excellent storytelling, outstanding characters. Like, the characters in this one, way better than the original. That's the one thing this movie has that's way better than the original. Better characters. Fantastic action, genuinely emotional moments that hit hard, superb directing from Peter Jackson, arguably one of his best since Lord of the Rings, phenomenal cinematography with some truly jaw-dropping camera work, loving nods to the original sprinkled in every now and then, a devastating finale that hits arguably even harder than it does in the original 33 movie, and highly faithful to its source material while still managing to stand out on its own merits as a great movie. That being said, though, there's still a good bit of drawbacks that keep it inferior to the original by a slight bit. The 3-hour runtime is beyond obnoxious. Like, this movie being 3 hours, why? Like, I get it's a big, grand, epic story, but 3 hours! That's a lot of time. And keep in mind, this is before it became more common with movies like The Batman and, you know, the piece of crap that was Transformers 5. But, I mean, back in the 2000s, 3-hour movies were not very common. Heck, the Lord of the Rings ones sometimes were barely over 3 hours. And don't even get me started on the extended 4-hour editions of those movies. Just woof. But, yeah, back in the 2000s, it wasn't very common for movies to be over 2 hours. But this one is over 3 hours. And as much as I love this movie, that is way too fucking long for a monster movie. Monster movies should not be 3 hours long. 3 hours, it's just too long. I understand you wanted to be big, grand, and epic, but 3 hours is too long, okay? Way too long. Beyond obnoxious. And it's not helped by the fact that the pacing in this movie is a very, very slow burn. Like, this movie is very slow, and it makes you feel every single minute. But that's not to say, like, it doesn't utilize that time. It utilizes it really well, but the pacing is just so slow, it's going to turn a lot of people away, because there are some people that are not really into slow burn movies, and could just end up leaving them disinterested and bored. I was not bored at all during this movie, but I could definitely feel the runtime as I watched it. The effects are mediocre with some wonky CGI and very obvious green screen. This is one of the elements that keeps it inferior to the original movie. In the original King Kong, there was no CGI, it was all done in very impressive stop motion. And in stop motion, it looks amazing, but this is obvious 3D CGI, obvious green screen, like, you can tell the effects are obvious is what I'm saying, and it does not look really good in some shots. Even King Kong himself in a couple shots looks a bit weird, like, just a slight hint off, like, not to the point of ruining the experience, but to the point of, like, this doesn't look right. It's hard to explain, but when you see the movie for yourself, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So, yeah, the effects aren't very good. And rewatchability is middling. Because it's 3 hours, I don't really have much of a desire to go back and rewatch it. Don't get me wrong, this movie is fantastic, but it's one of those fantastic movies where you feel like you see it once, and you don't really have much incentive to see it again outside of binging all these monster movies again to lead up to another new one. Hence why I'm even doing this review in the first place. But even with all that said, overall though, this is a spectacular remake of the original 33 movie that I had a great time watching. Sure, it's still inferior to that classic original movie, but it's still an excellent movie in its own right that more than earns its place in the franchise legacy. Godzilla got absolutely bastardized, Kong got done great justice. And another cool little thing here, one little minor spoiler. The way they do the credits in this movie, the end credits, it's done in the exact same format and style as it was in the 33 movie, just in color instead of black and white. I thought that was a really nice touch. But yeah, I almost have nothing but praises for this movie. It's great, it's fantastic, it's excellent. And for some reason, it's just not talked about much anymore. And that's a huge shame, because it is one of the best remakes I have seen in a while, and it's definitely among the better remakes overall, whether it's a monster movie or a kind of sort of horror film, even though it falls more into the adventure category. I'm getting off topic. Final verdict for this awesome movie is an 8.5 out of 10. Check it out if you haven't already. Just brace yourself for the 3-hour runtime, because it is going to test whether or not this movie is going to be for you. If you can sit through the 3 hours, you're in for a fantastic adventure film. If you're not in the 3 hours, then it's not going to be for you. But if this movie is for you, like it was for me, definitely check this one out. It is definitely one of the better kaiju monster movies. And easily the better remake of the two, seriously. Fuck Godzilla 98. Watch this instead. It is way better. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for videos almost like this every single day. And stay tuned, because we're going to give Kong a break, because now we're going to talk about something a little interesting that I found out while I was doing some research. And that is that there is an anime movie trilogy of Godzilla. Yeah, I didn't realize it either until I did research for this marathon beforehand, so yeah, obviously since it's animated, we have to talk about it, so I'll see you guys next time when we dive into the anime movie trilogy of Godzilla, starting with Godzilla, Planet of the Monsters.
We cannot take it anymore. The time has come to go. Prepare to fight. We're ready for this. I really hope that I'm ready for this.